And here's the catch: we didn't have an emergency fund. So obviously, a loved one in the hospital is definitely an emergency. So in that 5 or 6 weeks, we accrued some debt. And once my mother-in-law passed away, we caught our breath. It was tough. We had to heal from it. But in 2018, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "No more, no mas." And as the head of the household, I felt like I failed, and I told her, I said, "We'll never go through this again. We'll never go through life again without an emergency fund." So what I always tell people is, when you don't have an emergency fund, it's like walking on a tightrope with no safety net.
Welcome everybody back to another exciting show of the About That Wallet podcast. I have a wonderful guest that's going to come on and talk about his journey to be debt free. And that's one of the goals and the problems that we have today. And one of the things is that I want you guys to actually hear his debt free journey, as well as how the habits that he put into his life to take him to the next level. So welcome to the show, Demeterius.
Thank you for having me, Anthony. First and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for giving me this opportunity to be here. And Anthony, I thank you for having me on your platform. I don't take this for granted, so I really appreciate it.
I mean, no problem. Thank you so much for coming through to share your story, because one of the problems that a lot of us have in society is debt. And it seems like you pretty much, it looked like from the outside looking in, it looked like you sacrificed a lot to kind of become debt free. So can you talk about what got you into debt, and then also what changed, and what was that mind shift that got you out of debt?
Absolutely. So it goes back to 2017, the summer of 2017. My mother-in-law passed away, and my wife is originally from Ohio, and we lived in Maryland. And in 2017, like I said, summer of 2017, my mother-in-law passed away, and she was in the hospital for about 5 or 6 weeks. And it was time for the good Lord to call her home. But in that time period, my wife was traveling back and forth from Maryland to Ohio. We had accrued some debt through, eating out and just hotel fees and things of that nature, flights, right? So, and here's the catch: we didn't have an emergency fund. So obviously, a loved one in the hospital is definitely an emergency. So in that 5 or 6 weeks, we accrued some debt. And once my mother-in-law passed away, we caught our breath. It was tough. We had to heal from it. But in 2018, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "No more, no mas." And as the head of the household, I felt like I failed. And I told her, I said, "We'll never go through this again. We'll never go through life again without an emergency fund." So what I always tell people is, when you don't have an emergency fund, it's like walking on a tightrope with no safety net. You don't want to do that. You want the safety net underneath the tightrope, right?
Yep.
So in 2018, like I said, we looked at each other, "No more, no mas." And I said, "We got to get out of debt." My wife was all on board. So we had $32,000 of debt, and we paid that off in 5 months back in 2018. We weren't playing around. We got on a budget. We had never been on a budget before. We got on a tight budget. Our budget was so tight that it squeaked. And we were just throwing all of our disposable income towards this debt. And obviously the catalyst was with my mother-in-law, Rochelle, passing away. That was the catalyst of it all, because I was like, you know what? This can't happen. And sometimes people wait until life kicks them in the teeth to get their stuff in order. I try to encourage people, don't wait to do that. But another thing is that she did not have any life insurance. So in that process of accruing all this debt, we also paid for my mother-in-law's funeral. We paid $10,000. That was money we did not have. We borrowed it from our local bank. So, I mean, it was a mess. So like I said, her death was a catalyst, and that was our debt-free story. And that was how we said, we're going to take our personal finances and our legacy serious, and we became so intentional, and that's where we're at now.
Yeah. So what was the debt?
So the debt was let me think, A car, definitely. We had some car payments. We had some credit card debt, and then we had that $10,000 that we borrowed to for her funeral, and that was it. That brought us up to $32,000, and that was it seemed like a lot. I hear other people's story, but to us that was a lot. So that $32,000 in 5 months, we gotta get it. We got evicted. It can't stay. It has to go. So yeah, that was all of it.
Wow. So, going through that process, and again, my condolences to you and your family and your wife during that time frame, because losing someone is, I gotta say, it's expected, not expected, to the sense like we all know we're gonna die eventually.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know when.
Yeah.
And that's where you said that emergency fund will come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you say you guys had pretty much combined households early on. So what was that like?
You talking about when you say combined households? You mean what do you mean when you say that?
Because you say that was your wife family was in Ohio, and then you guys came here.
Yeah, well, so I'm from Maryland. So my wife moved. My wife moved to Maryland. She always wanted to live here. So when we met, it was like a match made in heaven because I'm from Maryland. She said she always wanted to live in the DC area. So that was it was a seamless process. As far as do you mean like combining accounts like?
No, just like how was that like? Because you're living on your own, obviously, and then when she comes over, it's like, well, it's telling her to, get rid of your stuff, or
yeah,
she's telling you to get rid of all your stuff that you like.
Oh, so that process, like I said, it was pretty seamless for us. It was all about understanding that we had to get to know each other. And the biggest key is people, it sounds cliche, but it's just really about communication. And I've learned, this is just my personal opinion, a lot of people are lazy communicators. They say, well, Anthony, you should know that. Or I thought you knew what I meant. And they get mad and they get short with you. But reality, they're mad because they didn't articulate their words clearly. So they say clear as kind. So I give you an example. If you're talking to someone and they're telling you their side of their story and you're already thinking of a response, that means you're not listening to them.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, you're not listening to them. So with us, it was just about communicating and just giving it time. Saying, you know what, this is all new for my wife and I. My wife was my first serious relationship, and I was her first serious relationship. So we knew it would take some time, but for us, it was all about just communicating with love, honesty. And I always tell people, find someone, marry someone that is not afraid to hurt your feelings. In other words, someone that's going to hold you accountable. My wife holds me accountable. I hold her accountable. So I can tell her, hey, what you did or how you said that, you could have said it better, and vice versa. My wife is always telling me something that I can get better on. So that just keeps our relationship intact. And my wife is a Christian as well. So we're one flesh. So we stay on the same page because, we're praying together. It's hard to, we don't believe in going to bed angry. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to be mad at somebody when you're like, okay, here, let's take my hand and pray. After that, you're like, all right, what are we mad about?
Nice. Yeah. So one of the cool things I like about your story is that when you combining your households and then understanding, that communication is the crux of the relationship. But then, you move to the next rotation, which is education. So, you went to school. And so did you go to school debt free as well or no?
Yes. So I went to school and I had my bachelor's degree in business administration. I had my MBA. So no debt. So the only debt that we have is our mortgage. We buy a car for cash. We don't do any debt at all because quite honestly, we don't like to owe people money, period. If I owe you $1, that's going to bug me. I'm gonna be like, Anthony, I sent it to you cash app. Like, I'm so serious. So I don't like to owe people money. But so many people are comfortable. And then we got we're in a society now where OPM other people's money, and they put this out on social media, and people don't understand how that works. And a lot of people don't even understand interest. So, I went to school debt free. I had debt in the very beginning when I first started going to school, and I didn't like that feeling. This is when I was single. I was like, you're sending me these bills. I don't like it. And then, to be honest, it was like $5,000. But it didn't sit well with me, so I quickly paid that off. So I went to school debt free through scholarships, and just I'm not going to borrow money. I took that off the table. So in my household, we don't borrow any money, so we took that off the table. So it's not an option for us.
Nice. Now, because I remember you mentioned earlier that you were talking about a budget.
Mm-hmm.
What type of budget were you doing? Can you explain your budget a little bit?
Absolutely. I would love to. So I teach my clients, and this is what I do for myself. I teach my clients, and we practice what we preach. We do a zero-based budget. So what that means is, let's use a nice number. Let's say you make $6,000 a month, and you put $6,000 at the top of your budget, and you list all of your deductions. That means savings, investing, giving, daycare, gas, groceries. And when you get to the very bottom of all your line items, it should be zero. And zero sounds bad, but it's actually a good thing, because every dollar has to be accounted for. Every single dollar needs a name, or else it goes into a line item called spent. I teach my clients, and I tell people all the time that spent line item is invisible, but it's real. And if you don't account for your money, then it's going to be in a line item. And like I said, it's called spent. And then you look up, and we've all done it before. We said, where did that $300 go? Where did this go? And Anthony, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm sure you can appreciate this. I don't own a boat, right? But we're familiar with boats, especially us being from Maryland. Anthony, did you know that 69% of all boats sink at the dock?
No, I didn't know that.
It means it's unattended.
Wow.
69%. We can do some simple math. We know that's 70%. 7 out of 10 boats that sink are left unattended. They're at the dock. They think they're secure, but the owner comes back and it's sunk. I bring that up because what is in our life is from a financial standpoint, is left unattended. A lot of stuff. And then we wonder why we're swimming in debt. We wonder why our financial ship has sunk. So the budget is the key, because it gives you, it lets you know where you stand, and that's so important. So we practice zero-based budgeting.
Nice. So where did you get the idea for budgeting?
So I'm sure you heard of Dave Ramsey. Yep. He some people love him, some people hate him. I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey, and I heard him talk over the years. Quite honestly, I listened to him, but I didn't execute on the baby step. That's how we got out of debt, by practicing the baby steps. So he used to always talk about a budget. And then we just looked into it one day, and we're like, wait a minute, we can do this, because it's two parts to a budget. It's number one, doing the budget, and number two, sticking to the budget. Mm-hmm. So once we did the budget, that was the hard part. And then we're like, all right, now we got to stick to it, because when you start budgeting your money with your spouse, it's going to be uncomfortable. If you're going to work through some kinks, it's going to be tough at first, but it's actually, in the long run, it's going to make your marriage stronger, because if you guys are on the same page financially, oh man, the sky's the limit. I tell people all the time that the budget, the diamonds aren't at Tiffany's. They're not downtown. They're not at Tiffany's. The diamonds are in the budget. That's where the diamonds are. Once you figure it out, and you're like, wait a minute, we have X amount of dollars at the end of the month. And it's like a budget gives you a raise. So why wouldn't you want to do it? You know what I mean? Give you control of your money.
Yeah, because one of the things about Dave Ramsey's program is first save that $1,000. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't like the blanket statement of 1,000. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on that?
So this is what I think. I think that the $1,000 is personal finance is personal. I always tell people that personal finance is personal. So you save $1,000. That may be good for a, one or two families, but there's another family they feel comfortable with 1,500. But the $1,000 is a good starting point because the average American doesn't have $1,000 saved up in their account. The data shows that. Furthermore, the $1,000 is not meant to be a lot. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you say, you know what, I want more in there. So now you're working the steps, you're working the process, and you're motivated. Because if I tell you that, if I go inside your pantry, Anthony, and I say, all right, we got 2 meals left. We got some spaghetti and we have, I don't know, something else, right? And you're like, okay, now you got in your mind, we got to figure this thing out. We need some more food. So it's going to make you uncomfortable, and it's going to be the straw that stirs the drink. So I'm fine with it. If you want to do 1,500 or 2,000, that's fine. But I will say this: make sure that you actually save that amount, because the baby steps are about small wins. I don't know if you ever watched football before, but if you ever watch football and a team is down by, let's say a team's down by 17 points and it's about to go into halftime, and people are yelling at the TV. It's like, why did they kick a field goal? They're down by 17 points. There's this thing called momentum. So you kick the field goal. Now you got 3 points. Then you come out of halftime and you get the ball. Now you go down and score. Now you just have 10 unanswered points. Now you got a ball game, right?
Yep.
So it's about momentum. And that's why I tell people that the baby steps work. It's not for everybody, but it worked for my family and I. Yeah, so you have so many people who are not where they want to be at financially, but yet they're up to date on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. They never miss an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. They can tell you who got voted off the island, and then if you ask them about a stock split or are you investing in Apple, and the answer is no. They don't know what's going on in business, but they can tell you what the latest post on Shade Room was. I don't follow Shade Room, but the last time I checked, I want to say they had 20 million followers.
Right.
But yet you say, hey, are you, where you want to be at financially? Where do you see yourself at a year from today, based on the actions and the decisions and choices that you're making? They won't be able to give you an answer, but they can tell you who recently broke up with who or who just got pregnant. So you got to look at the priorities.
And even the sports stats side of the house, and they try to say, oh, you're a nerd for knowing this and you're a nerd for that. But I'm like, but you're a nerd and knowing about somebody in tights that doesn't even know who you are, but yet you're rooting to say that's my team.
Absolutely. And I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. Go Ravens. I love basketball. I love football. Grew up playing both sports. But I had to learn as I got older. I had to unplug from those things and really focus and really grow up and say, all right, let's think about my financial legacy and understanding my financial why. And what I tell people is, watching TV, you're literally watching someone live out their dream. A lot of these athletes, for example, they wrote on a piece of paper in the 3rd grade, I want to play professional football. I want to be in the NBA. I want to be in the NFL. And you're watching them live out their dream. Meanwhile, you're not even one step closer. You're actually falling behind when it comes to, pursuing your dreams and achieving the goals, because you're wasting time. So, just get your priorities in order and understand that your financial legacy is one of the most important things you can cement.
Yeah, because I always think about that when I'm watching a movie or something like that. And I'm like, what am I doing right now? Am I like watching somebody else making their money? Even though it's free to me, but they already made their money. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, am I even making my money? Like, what am I doing is my return on investment? So, perfect example, I was binge watching Game of Thrones. And so what I decided to do was they have a drinking game for Game of Thrones. So every time you hear like, my lord or your grace, you gotta take a shot. Or you gotta, or there's like nudity for some odd reason, you gotta take a shot. And it's almost like you gotta do bingo through that process. And I mean, you don't have to take a shot, but you can actually do bingo or whatever. And what I decided to do was use that same criteria, but I would do different workout routines. So whether or not, if they say, my lord, all right, I'm doing 10 push-ups every time they say it a lot. So choose wisely.
Yeah.
And if there's nudity, I do sit-ups or whatever, or jumping jacks or something like that. And I made a game out of it. I only pick 5 things. Every episode, I pick 5 things. And then I'll rotate my, I guess you could say the circuit. Because if I know they're going to say my Lord a lot, all right, cool. I need to work on my upper body. I'm doing push-ups for this episode. If I needed to work on legs, hey, I'm doing squats. I might do 5. I ain't going to do like 10 or 20. Passed out. But these are the things that I try to do when I watch TV shows, even though it might be mind numbing, but you know, we also have to have that break, you know, sometimes.
There's nothing wrong with TV. Just have that balance where, I mean, if you're watching TV every single night and you're telling me, and not you, Anthony, but other people can tell you who, you know, who did what on this station and this channel, and you're saying, okay, that's a lot of time spent on watching TV. So how are you trying to get to where you want to be at? And you know, if you're looking at, you know, how you, I found there's a correlation between how you spend your time and how your money comes and goes. If I look at someone and I see that they are on a tight schedule and they are very intentional, more times than not, they're probably going to be intentional with their money as well. Like someone can't call me and say, hey D, let's go to happy hour. I'm like, what? No, I'm not going. Like, this is out of nowhere. Like, that's not in my budget. That doesn't mean I don't have money. Right. I definitely have money, but they weren't sitting down with my wife and I 2 weeks ago when we did our budget for November, right? So they can't come in and just you know, insert themselves in my life. And then now, guess what? Now, if I go to happy hour, am I going to go there and not spend any money? Of course, I'm going to spend money. The whole environment is designed, the lighting, the music, the food is designed to spend money, right? So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So just like how you spend your time, if you find yourself spending a bunch of time watching TV and things of that nature, before you know it, now you're on Grubhub. So you're watching TV, you just order some food, and none of this is in your budget. Do that a few times, and at the end of the month, you're like, where's all my money go? I'm like, it went on Tuesday night. Yep. Pizza and VH1.
Yeah, because what did I do? Because I do happy hour, but I actually plan it out. So I do like a 2 weeks out, maybe 3 weeks, or like once a month. But those come in like the routine side of the house. So hey, like I know I'm gonna plan happy hour for this at least once a month. I go happy hour just to kind of take a break from work and life, and just, you know, just listening to things, or I'll be in my planner just looking at stuff.
Yeah.
But also I guess it wouldn't work out too well, because if you're doing a zero-based budget, if it's not in your budget and somebody asks you, hey, can we go hang out? You're like, no, son, I'm broke.
Like, I have a miscellaneous budget, and it could pull from that, but it's just like I'm focused. You know what I mean? And I'm focused on like getting to the next place in my life, so I don't have time to do those things, because I'm looking at the standpoint of, all right, that's time spent that I could be reading, working on my craft, learning, reading a book. You know what I mean? Like, I try to look at it from the standpoint of, if I'm watching too much TV, I say, wait a minute, I've been watching a little too much TV. I gotta cut the screens off, and I gotta crack open a book. Let me get the highlighter. Let me get the pen. Let me start looking at some stuff, because the stuff that I'm reading is going to stay with me a lot longer than you know, a game that I'm watching or something like that. So just being mindful of how I spend my time and what we put into our minds. Yeah. So many people, I strongly believe, garbage in, garbage out. If your life is Love and Hip Hop, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Black Ink, and all this other nonsense, it's going to be hard for you to have a in-depth conversation about investing and building wealth, because you've put nothing but garbage in. So of course, garbage is going to come out, and they're going to look at me and you and say, oh man, they always talk about money, or those guys are weird, or they're whatever. But it's not that. It's really what it is they're not able to join in the conversation because they're not invested in themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's really what it is about, investing into yourself, making sure that you're putting quality stuff in your mind. So that way, when you are, talking to people and having those conversations, you can actually contribute to the conversation.
Yeah. But how can I say, how do we make money entertaining? Because like they have a full storyline. If you watch some of these shows and the way how I have to give it up to the editing team because they already, and the cool thing about these seasons is that they already recorded all the seasons before they put it out. Mm-hmm. So they are able to pull footage from 5 or 6 episodes down the line, throw them in the 1 or 2 episodes in, like so-and-so said this, or a fight happened. And so you sit there waiting for the fight to happen in the first episode. They're like, all right, well, they get in there, but then the second episode come through. And it was like the fight still didn't happen that they showed in the prior one. So you stuck all the way in to find this one fight 5 episodes down the line. Mm. That's one way to do it for TV. But how do we keep that going?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before that my partner and I we do it live, and I joked around, said it's edutainment, but in reality, when it comes to personal finance, we should take the entertainment, and it can be entertaining, but it's a small piece of it. We should come into the mindset of it's like school. Nobody walked into a classroom expecting to laugh. It's not a comedy show. Right. Am I right? You're not walking into school and saying, okay, where's Kevin Hart at?
Right.
I'm expecting Kevin Hart to be standing on a desk. Right? No, you're expecting, all right, class, open up your book, blah, blah, blah. Right. So we got to put the entertainment on the back burner. If you want to make it like 25% of it, but the lion's share of it should be, all right, I need to come in and get better. And I think that's our problem, because we're constantly entertained. We're over entertained. We're oversaturated. This is why you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and people do that. So I would say put that on the back burner, make it a small part of it, but go in. It's a business trip. When I start talking about money, I get serious.
Right.
Like someone asked me about some money, I get very serious. They're like, "Are you mad?" I'm like, "No, I'm just passionate." I'm just serious. There's nothing funny about not having money.
Right.
Am I lying?
You're not lying. You've been there. I mean,
it's nothing funny about not having money. So I'm so confused on why should I not be serious, right?
Yeah.
So and have that approach. And it's like, all right, it's a business trip. Let me button up, let me sit up, let me have a notepad and pen and paper, and come in ready to learn.
Yeah, you're what they call it, because I had a guy on named Lucas Root, and he was talking about your productivity uniform. Mm-hmm. And so if you're gonna put your button up suit or a button down, or actually, yeah, it's not a button down, because button downs are when they button down the actual collar. But for those of you who are into fashion, don't come at me. So the button up shirt, you got your notepad and everything like that. You might got some slacks on or shorts, whatever makes you happy, but that's your productivity uniform. Like for me, for the show, I have a branded shirt that I try to wear, and this is, hey, I'm in work mode. This is what I do. This is my fun time, but also I know I'm not doing full physical activities. I'm not up here dancing with this shirt on.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's one of the things we have to be mindful of too. It's like, where do you do the separation of space? Like, when you're in the living room, you just relax time. Like, hey, this is the couch potato area. But do you also sit down in that same room and talk to your wife about planning for your finances? More than likely not.
Yeah, it is.
So it's usually like at the dinner table, or, maybe out at brunch or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like more mutual. It's fun, but also it's still intimate.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We go down in the basement for me. We'll go in the office. We'll have a conversation. We'll sit, like you said, at the dinner table, and just like let's talk about it. And just putting yourself in that mindset of, all right, let's talk business, right?
Mhm.
And when you start talking about those things, you don't want distractions. I had a client one day, and I can't make this up. This person, I mean, it was somebody was walking in the room. They were just getting in the house. I mean, it was like, I gotta leave out soon. I gotta pick somebody up. It was a total disaster, right?
Right.
And I said with confidence that um, you have to be focused in order for this to work.
Mhm.
And too many of us are focused on the wrong things. They're focused on things that are not going to generate or produce any fruit. They're focused on things that are not going to it's not going to produce any money for them. It's a you heard about earn your leisure, assets over liabilities, right? And they're focused on the liabilities in their life. And I'm like, well, focus on the assets, building a business, learning about, when someone says ETFs, like, what does that mean? Or just challenging yourself. But they're focused on the other things that aren't going to help them. So it's like, okay, whatever you focus on is what's going to grow. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really simple. You focus on a bunch of nonsense, then that's what you're going to get. So yeah, that productivity uniform that your friend mentioned, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It opens up the mind to a little bit of different things. So, all right, man, this recording quick. Stick with it. Nice. So first, you said that you joined the army
Mhm.
at 17 years old. Was that something that you wanted to do, or?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Salisbury, Maryland, small town. It's the headquarters of Purdue. So I have a lot of family members that's worked at chicken plants. Purdue, Allen Family Food, Conagra, Mount Air. I can tell you all about farming, more than what you would want to know. So it's not a lot of opportunities. So I said, man, I got to get out of here. I didn't want to be, no disrespect to anybody, but I felt when I graduated, and if you stay there, you can roll the credits on your life. I would have been at best working at Walmart and being a JV football coach. And I was like, no, thank you. I want more out of my life. So I joined the military, and I'm still reaping the benefits of that to this day. And I'm 40 now.
Oh man, congrats and thank you for your service. Because the time of this recording is right after Veterans Day, so again, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for your support.
So we talked about a couple strategies and some of the things that that got you to where you are today. Are there some strategies that you know with all the clients that you've helped have been the most common that people use typically overlook?
Um, I would say definitely, obviously, the budget. I would also say looking at I wouldn't necessarily call it a strategy. I would just say it's more, I guess you could call it strategy. Take a look at the last 3 months of your bank statements. I do this with my clients. Look at the last 3 months of your bank statements. They think it's for me. They're like, oh, coach is giving me homework. It's really for them because I want them at look at where their money is going. And then I tell them to write on a piece of paper, write down on one side your needs, write down on the other side your wants. And I teach them, don't confuse needs versus wants. You don't need a vacation. Oh, I gotta have it. No, you want a vacation. Right. So that wasn't a vacation is not it's not a need, that's a want. But utilities, things of that nature, groceries, those are needs, these are necessities, right? And I tell them to do the 3 months because that's a solid sample of who you are, right? If I look at your money, I can tell you exactly who you are. If I look at your money for the last 90 days, I can tell you who you have been for a quarter of the year, right? I'm looking at Anthony, I'm saying, okay, this man clearly likes to invest. He invests into his business. He's investing into the stock market. Your bank statements is going to always tell on you. So I would tell people, encourage them, look at the bank statements and see where their money is going. You see a bunch of Bloomingdale's and Saks and Marshalls, and sounds like you might be shopping too much, you know? That's one method. Another method that I would say is to think about when you're about to make a large purchase. And the word large is subjective. For me, if I spend anything over $100, I think about it. My daughter told me one day, she said, "Daddy, you stalk your stuff before you buy it, right?" And she's right because of the way I grew up. I didn't grow up
Right.
with a lot of money. I was on free lunch. I grew up in a
Mm-hmm.
single parent home. Thank God I never missed any meals. I want to be clear. I never missed any meals. My mom's an awesome mom. I never even knew I was poor until I became an adult. True story. We had abundance of love, but we didn't have a ton of money, but everything was always good. So growing up, I understood the word no at a young age. So I make sure that I'm not being wasteful with my money. So if you're about to make a big purchase, ask yourself, can I just put this in the cart for 24 hours? Put it in the cart, sleep on it, and then come back to it. And you might say, I really don't need this. Why am I buying it? You know, are you trying to impress people that you don't even know, that don't even like you? Right. And just do that. Do that 24, 48-hour exercise, and that will help you out a lot. That's a couple things that come to my mind.
Nice. All right. So we're going to talk about the futures here at this point, which is the third segment of the show. And so where would you see yourself in the next 2 years?
In the next 2 years, I definitely see myself doing a lot of paid speaking engagements, teaching people about personal finances. I also see my business from the standpoint of coaching people. I can see myself doing some group coaching. I do private coaching right now, but I want to be able to touch more people, and I can see myself having basically a group of people that I coach. And then also having some workshops, masterminds, just getting out there, getting people in the same room, getting them in that environment, because that's big. It's hard for someone to think that they can build wealth when everyone around them is not building any wealth. So they think that's the reality. So those are some of the things that I see myself doing in the future.
Awesome. Now, because, you seem like you have a big heart. I don't say you seem like, but you actually are have a big heart. I'm actually bringing up my little notepad here because there were some questions when I went to a conference, and they asked some pretty good ones. Like one of the questions, do you actually feel that you have enough
Enough money?
or enough in life?
Yeah, I'm definitely fulfilled. I'm definitely fulfilled. If my life never changed and it just stayed exactly where it's at right now, I would be happy. I'm very content. I love my life. I have a relationship with my Heavenly Father. I have a great relationship with my wife, two beautiful kids. So I'm very content. So I would say I definitely have enough. My cup is full. With that being said, there's more things I want to do because it's bigger than me. I heard someone say one day that making six figures, someone said, "Oh, I want to make six figures." Someone said that that's selfish. You should want to make more. And they were like, I think that the quote was, "I want to make 100,000 a year." And someone said that was a selfish quote because, as you mentioned, I do like to give. So the more money that you make, the more you can give and the more you can do for others.
Like it. Awesome. So you ready for the final four questions?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So what does wealth mean to you?
So wealth means to me, when I think of wealth, I think of having time, owning your time. That's important because people, when they hear us talk about money, they think we're talking about money, which we are. Really, what we're talking about is owning our time. Because if you have the money, then a byproduct of having the money is that you'll be able to own your own time. Because we know a lot of people who have a ton of time on their hands and they don't have any money.
Yep.
And we're lying, they have $0. So they got all the time in the world. And then there's also the other end where we are making good money, but we're grinding, we're scrambling, right? We're working. So if we can find that happy medium where you have passive income coming in and there's a surplus of money and you own your time. So now you say, you know what, I just want to go to the wrist for 2 days. I just want to unplug. I want to reset, recharge, relax. And now you can do it. So to me, I think of owning my own time.
I like that. Number 2, what was your worst money mistake?
Without a doubt, not investing sooner. Without a doubt, not investing sooner. If I started investing as soon as I turned 18, oh man, I have like it might like a massive pool in the background somewhere. Like it's so crazy. So that's been my biggest mistake, not investing sooner. Now I'm definitely investing and I'm definitely building wealth every single day, but that would be my biggest mistake. If there's one thing I could go back and do, I would have started investing to the S&P 500. I would have got a basic mutual fund or ETF and invested in the market and ride the wave.
Yeah, like a set it and forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 3, what is your favorite financial or non-financial book?
Oh man. That's a tough one. Because I read a lot of them. I would say The Millionaire Next Door.
Okay.
Because that was what woke me up. I know a lot of people mentioned The Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was one of my first books as well. But The Millionaire Next Door, exposure leads to expansion. So when I read that book, I was like, wait a minute, they're driving Camrys and like it opened my eyes to how they're living, how they're building their wealth, and it helped me to understand that there's a few qualities that you need to have in order to build wealth. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, I gotta live below my means. I don't have to live an extravagant lifestyle. Obviously, continue to budget your money. So that right there was an eye opener for me. So I got to give a nod to Millionaire Next Door.
Number 4, what is your favorite dish to make?
My favorite dish to make, man, that's tough because my wife's an incredible cook. I'm to be honest, I'm more of a breakfast guy.
There you go. Most of the guys are.
I'm more of a breakfast guy. So I would say bacon, eggs, oatmeal with some maple syrup, walnuts, and that's something that the kids always enjoy. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Awesome. Yeah, you gotta send me a picture of that. So
all right.
The very last question here, which is, where could people find out more about you?
Definitely. I'm on Instagram at Harmon Financial Coaching. That's my handle at Harmon Financial Coaching. Also, harmonfinancialcoaching.com. Check out my website. I offer 30-minute consultations. I would love to sit down with people and just kind of crack open their books and get to know where they want to be, find out their financial why. So like I said, the website, harmonfinancialcoaching.com, and then on Instagram at Harmon Financial Coaching.
Awesome. Well, for those of you who are listening, I just want to make sure that you guys got some information out of here. If anything of that you listened to that you felt that was important to your life or could be important to someone else's life, even if your child at 16, 17 years old, they can always listen to the content that was given here today. And as you heard, Demeterius said, like, if he had the opportunity, he would invest sooner. So please make sure that you check him out on his website at harmonfinancialcoaching.com and provide and support him there. And again, please make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share, because this actually adds a lot of value to the podcast and also to the guests who are on the show. All right, everybody. Y'all be safe. Wow. Peace.